Beyond the last bus stop of a forgotten Ukrainian town, a dirt road snaked into wetlands where birch trees leaned like crooked sentinels. At the very end of that road stood a house of gray timber and warped glass. Locals called it the widow's nest, but when asked why, they only shrugged and crossed themselves. One chilly evening, a young carpenter named Andrew arrived to help repair the nearby church. He was broad-shouldered, full of restless energy, and eager to prove himself. Walking back from the station through the damp dusk, he saw her. She emerged from a veil of fog as though the night itself had shaped her. Tall, luminous skin, hair black as raven feathers. Her eyes caught the lantern light and held it like still water. "My name is Larissa," she said, her voice soft and strangely musical. They spoke only a few minutes, yet Andrew felt a pull so deep it frightened him. The next day he found an excuse to walk the same road. She was waiting as if she had known he would return. Their meetings became daily, then nightly. Within weeks, Andrew abandoned his rented room and moved into Larissa's creaking house at the edge of the marsh. Life with her was intoxicating. She smelled faintly of wild herbs and damp earth. Meals appeared without effort, stews rich with unfamiliar spices, bread still warm though he never saw her bake. Nights were a fever of whispered words and breathless embraces. But small, disquieting things began to happen. Tools at the church slipped from his grasp, though his hands were steady the day before. A neighbor swore she heard a lullaby through his window at midnight, though Andrew and Larissa had spoken no words at all. On his first trip back to the city for supplies, he returned pale and exhausted, as if the journey had stolen years from his body. Each departure grew harder. Stairs that once meant nothing left him breathless. A 10-minute walk felt like a pilgrimage through snow. Yet the moment he crossed Larissa's threshold, warmth surged back into his veins. Her presence was a drug, and he was hopelessly addicted. His reflection told the truth others dared not voice. Cheeks hollowed, hair thinned. His co-workers whispered that he looked 20 years older. Even his voice grew raspy, like dry leaves scraping stone. One night, a storm rolled across the marsh. Larissa lay asleep beside him, but her breathing was too still, too measured, like a clock hidden beneath blankets. Drawn by an unease he could not name, Andrew wandered the dark corridors. The house smelled of iron and wet soil. A faint current of air tugged at his sleeve. It came from a door he had never opened. The cellar. Steps groaned beneath him as he descended into blackness. A single candle guttered in the center of the earthen floor. Around it lay a circle of melted wax and strange runes scratched into the dirt. Against the damp stone walls slumped bodies, not corpses, in the usual sense, but parchment-skinned. Husks of men, eyes sunken, jaws frozen in silent screams. Some wore rings and watches that gleamed through shrunken flesh. Andrew stumbled back, bile rising in his throat. One skull still clutched a withered bouquet of wild herbs. On a rickety table lay a small leather book, brittle with age. Symbols inked in dark brown spiraled around a single name, Larissa. Back in his room, shaking beneath a flickering lamp, Andrew scoured the internet for answers. Hours later, he found an obscure folklore site describing a creature called a Jadnitsi, a nightwitch who seduced men, drained their life during acts of pleasure, and preserved their remains as offerings to a shadow deity. Legend spoke of only one defense: a mirror of consecrated silver, a circle of blessed salt, and a prayer strong enough to drown her song. Sleep never came. The house groaned like a living thing. At dawn he crept to the church, borrowed a small silver mirror from the sacristy, and filled a pouch with holy salt. That night he returned early, heart-pounding. Larissa welcomed him with a smile too sharp to be human. When she reached for him, he stepped back, raised the mirror, and whispered the ancient prayer. The air turned black and electric. In the glass he no longer saw the young beauty, but a gaunt crone, skin stretched thin over jagged bones, eyes like bottomless pits. Her scream shook the rafters. Shadows writhed across the walls. She lunged, face flickering between maiden and hag. Candles exploded in sparks. Andri scattered the salt in a trembling circle and shouted the prayer again. Smoke boiled from her flesh. The house itself seemed to wail. Grabbing a candle, he hurled it onto the curtains. Flames leapt greedily, devouring dry timber. Larissa clawed at the barrier of salt, her voice shifting from fury to a plaintive, almost loving cry. Stay with me, my heart. Just one more night. But the fire roared louder than her song. Her figure twisted, half woman, half shadow, until the ceiling collapsed in a storm of embers. When villagers arrived at dawn, they found only a smoldering ruin and Andri unconscious but alive. His hair, which had turned gray, now shone dark again. The deep lines of premature age had vanished. Strength returned, but peace never followed. Andri sold the small house he had hoped to buy and moved far away, convinced distance would silence the memory. Yet nights betrayed him. Sometimes he woke drenched in cold sweat, the faint scent of wild herbs clinging to the air. In the silence he swore he heard a soft lullaby, half promise, half threat whispering his name from beyond the flames. Haunted by dreams he could not escape, Andri began visiting church more and more, seeking solace in candlelight and prayer. Only within those sacred walls did the echo of Larissa's laughter fade to a tolerable murmur, though never to silence.